Regarding Warhammer 40,000, I am a big fan of getting the most out of your model collection. And while I enjoy playing regular 40K, I do tend to gravitate towards larger games. This idea of supporting the community, taking advantage of the community. If I take my models, you take your models, we throw down everything on the table. We get a little bit creative with the rules, the story, the narrative, and combined, we can have a really, really awesome game. Trying to recreate those aspects from the Black Library novels and the various audiobooks. But on the other side, I am also a big fan of micro games or smaller games where, depending on the army, if we reduce it to that, or I should say faction, that would be a better and more accurate description, looking and saying, if you have 10 models on the table, led by a champion, kill team, small games, kill team, that changes the Grimdark tremendously. A lot of 40K players are used to losing tons and tons of models a turn. And certainly that is realistic, given how lethal the Grimdark is, and the fact that Games Workshop is pushing us to larger and larger battles, essentially replacing Warhammer as a mass-scale war game, but with one-to-one models. So a stand of Space Marines, one Space Marine doesn't represent like 10. It's not like when I play DBA and my Roman stand with 3 little Roman dudes on it represents a block of warriors. It's one-to-one. And admittedly, I would not want to change that. That's the appeal. That is the appeal of 40K. But the difference is when you play a smaller game, when you play something like Kill Team, you lose 1 or 2 models or 3 models. That's a big deal. That has massive implications. So running from cover to cover is important. Running across an open area where 2 or 3 models can shoot at you, all of a sudden you're like, I can't take that risk, as opposed to, I lost 30 Space Marines this turn. No big deal. It's not going to really change the game. So with that, I do enjoy exploring smaller narrative games. I do enjoy Kill Team very, very much, even though Games Workshop seems to be constantly reinventing it for the sake of reinvention. But this leads into today's vlog and today's Games Workshop /40K /Kill Team perspective. My thought originally was, and looking back now, I'm like, I was completely wrong with this assessment, but I can't fault myself for being wrong, because I was operating under the rules of community, of narrative, and world building. I had things flipped. I need to invert them. So my thought always was this idea that Games Workshop released something like Kill Team and its various factions over the different years of 40K. And admittedly, it is a regularly supported aspect. There's a lot more meat to it. And we're going to put Necromunda and other spin-offs like Inquisimunda and things like that aside for a moment, or maybe we'll lump them all in. But the idea is, I always perceived Kill Team as, you want to do this 40K thing, you like this 40K thing, but you're really intimidated by having to lay out $2,000 or $3,000 USD, plus all the time to paint and build, and how do we utilize that? I mean, that's a big jump in. Kill Team is like, 15, 20 models, maybe 30, so you have some tactical diversity. That's manageable. Even by Games Workshop prices, that's affordable. And my thought was, it's a great way to jump into the community. You explore the Grimdark that way, and then, of course, you're like, well, maybe I'll jump into regular 40K. Maybe I'll start playing regular 40K. So it's a tempting lead-in to get you to play the Grimdark and then graduate to the bigger armies, regular, full-blown echelon 40K, for those that might not have bought in. That's how I always viewed 40K and Kill Team. But that's going back to like real old school, back when you had the specialist games division, where that was the lead-in, that was the marketing strategy. Well, that's wrong. That changed. And then I thought for a while, as they expanded the terrain, one of the things tactically to make Kill Team, to make smaller games work, you need massive amounts of terrain. I mean, a lot of 40K tables are like 3 or 4 big terrain pieces, one or two little terrain pieces, and there you go. Essentially, the battles look like Warhammer Fantasy from back in the day. Kill Team, any open spaces, you're in trouble. Now, it's nice and easy and effective to model up like the inside of a building or a starship, but the terrain on the battlefields needs to be very, very, very dense. And admittedly, that's a step in creative modeling. That's a fun aspect of the hobby, but you just can't put down like two or three little pieces and call it a day. You won't have any of the dynamic back and forth of Kill Team. So I saw over the years as Games Workshop released not only various sets, but also terrain specifically geared towards that as their moneymaker. So it's like, okay, we're going to get you in and you're going to buy one or two box sets, maybe 30 models tops. So how are we going to get the money? We're going to get the money by offering these terrain sets, which absolutely fantastic production value, look amazing, and just literally build, paint, and play. Those aspects ready to go, much like the factions and the armies and the miniatures. And I thought they're making their money off that. And now I see like, no, the business model is the exact opposite. It's not a way to graduate into 40K. It's a way to get more money. And maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, in the comments, absolutely. I'm ever evolving, same way as I've kind of evolved from my initial reaction to Warhammer Plus. Exploring this idea, they don't care about the new players. They don't want someone to spend $200 or $300, maybe top out at $500 with paints and supplies, and you're ready to go. No, they want like 2 to 5 up front. It's like I want a massive down payment for a car up front, and then I want to get you hooked in for a monthly car payment of like $350, $400 a month. Am I wrong on that, USD? Am I wrong on that? That's the projection. So we're not going to lead you into playing 40K. We're going to get you into 40K proper, get you to spend that money and either additional revenue or get you to top out. We're going to sell you Warhammer Plus. We're going to get you on that. We're going to sell you unlimited releases. We're going to get you on that. We're going to sell you on Kill Team. Because you look and say, well, this is a pretty easy buy-in for Kill Team. I probably already have the models. So maybe I purchase a few more, but I'm going to get the terrain. I'm going to get the limited releases. I'm going to follow up on the rule books. And it's like an additional top-off revenue stream for those in 40K. So I see it as almost like starting another army or another faction for 40K. And then once you're in with Kill Team, you keep playing it. Your thoughts? I really don't think it's another way to get people into the Grimdark. I think it's a way to extract more from the Grimdark.